Hello, lovely humans. My name is Ruth Clare, and I am a TEDx and keynote speaker, an author, and a mental health coach. And I help people to face the challenges that they are encountering in their lives with more courage and hope, and to help them to feel safe enough so that they can step outside of their comfort zone and be more courageous and joyful and authentic in their lives. Now, full disclosure, this is my first ever Facebook Live. So I have zero idea if this is working. I don't know quite how it does work. I know that people can like things or something. So if you're out there, please like a thing or leave a comment or whatever it is you're meant to do on Facebook Lives. I don't really know. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I have been thinking about doing a Facebook Live for about 7 years. And I recently did a post on taking courageous action. And I realized that this is something that, as a perfectionist, who likes to feel quite in control, this is really outside of my comfort zone. So I am pushing myself, getting outside of my comfort zone. If you're watching this later, after the event, please also like it or comment on it or whatever it is you're meant to do to Facebook Live. Whatever it is, you people know more than I do, because that way I know that at least it works and it exists in the world after this moment in time. So why am I doing a Facebook Live apart from, just trying to push myself outside of my comfort zone? I want to share with you something that I've been working on this year. I've had this kind of crazy year where I have been working my absolute butt off, and I feel like I've got very little to show for it because I've started about 600 things all at the same time. But one of the things that I've been working on that I think will be hopefully a real resource that might be able to help people is something that, sorry, I just got a weird notification coming down on my phone that is going to distract me the entire way through this. Should have turned off some notifications before I started this, but I didn't. And if any of you out there have ADHD like me, you know how those notifications do become very distracting. So I wanted to share with you a resource that I have been working on that is called the Life Lab. And the Life Lab is full of all of the personal development and mental health strategies that I have found most helpful in my journey recovering from a childhood that was less than ideal and feeling like pretty much a rubbish person for quite a long time. And the reason that I decided to start creating this resource was because I went back to uni to study mental health. I thought, right, I'll get myself an official qualification. And the course that I was studying was not great. It was an online course. That's not my medium. The lecturer, I don't know if you're like this, but if I have a teacher who I don't respect or I think that they're not doing a very good job, it's very hard for me to listen to them. But even putting aside the fact that he was a bit of a rubbish lecturer, the thing that really irritated me about this course was that they seemed to be paying a lot of lip service to some of these ideas about how you recover and how you create hope in people and how you offer people resources. Because one of the things that I did read, this wasn't from the lecturer, this was my own reading, I'm not giving him any credit. One of the things I did read that I really liked as an idea is that resilience is having more resources than you do stresses. And those resources can be people. Ideally we have people, but a lot of us don't get those people. But resources can be new ways of thinking about something. It can be tools to use when your nervous system is dysregulated. And I thought, this is great. That's the way that I think of it as well, because as somebody who has done a lifetime of learning in this area, and I have sought help from so many different people. I'm a very open-minded person, and so I have, I've been to see psychiatrists and psychologists and psychotherapists and shamans and healers and kinesiologists and Reiki practitioners and, shumut, whatever that is. They can wave a fish over the top of me. Look, I'll give it a crack. I'm a pretty open-minded person. And one of the things that I found really disheartening about this mental health course, and I think it is for me reflective on a lot of my experiences in the mental health world when you're going and seeking help from somebody, is they're saying, every person is an individual, but let me just categorize you down to a disorder. That's the first thing we need to do, is to categorize you down to a disorder. And I am somebody who has been diagnosed. I have complex PTSD and I have ADHD, and both of those diagnoses have been really helpful in helping me to understand myself a bit better. But a diagnosis is like the beginning of a journey as far as I'm concerned. And the way that it works in a traditional model of mental health care and support is that they want everything to be really extremely heavily researched, which is fine. I am a qualified scientist. I do value science. I am not dismissing science. But my personal take is, I don't know if this is still going. I received a weird notice, very distracting weird notice, that said that I had poor internet connection. So I may be talking to air, but I'm just going to keep going anyway. I'm happy to talk to air. Why? Why dismiss air? Air is a valid friend to talk to. Hello, air. And I don't even know how much you heard of what I last went on with, but I'll just continue as if you heard me. So basically what I found in this course that I was doing was they wanted to have, like, this is the most researched option. Obviously they're not wanting to send people off on fool's errands. They're not wanting people to waste their money. And so they want to have resources that are really proven to help support people. And so they want to go with the types of therapy that have had the most research applied to them. And it seemed that no matter what you had, you had bipolar disorder, you had PTSD, you had a personality disorder, you had whatever it was, it seemed that the top strategy that they were saying everyone should do was cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was like, right. Now, I'm not against cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'm sure that there are a lot of great cognitive behavioral therapists out there. But for me, I've experienced a lot of different types of therapists, and a lot of therapists, in my experience, are not really great at their job, and they can get very limited in what it is that they do, and they try and, it's like if your only tool is a hammer, then everyone's a nail, and you try and just hammer people into this one hole. And my perspective is that we human beings are far more complex than that. We have our own personalities, we have our own preferences, we have different things are going to stimulate us and help us at different times depending on where we're at in our journey. And I think you just need to be far more flexible in your approach, far more willing to empower people in their own journey rather than sort of applying you've filled out this questionnaire, you now fit this category, so now we need to work on this lens in a really thought-based way. And for me, as somebody who has a lot of nervous system stuff going on, I've got a very sensitive nervous system. I get, when I feel emotions, I feel them real, real big. And so for me, any practice that doesn't use your body and try and help you to process emotions on a nervous system and body level, if you're not trying to create a feeling of safety in your world, that is really missing a lot of the point, because your thoughts are the end part of the process, in my opinion. Like you've had so much go on before you've even got to the thoughts. And yes, you can change your stories and you can challenge all of that, but there's a lot you can do to support yourself before you even get to that. And ideally, the way that I try and do it is try just to drop the thoughts, drop them, mindfulness, come back to your body, let it go. Anyway, I digress. There is a reason that I'm on here, and it is to talk about the Life Lab, which is this pool of resources that I'm creating. And at the moment, it's like some articles. I'm going to be doing some more videos. But what I really wanted from you guys is, if you're willing to share with me, and you might not be willing to share in a public forum, but if you're willing to share with me some of the challenges that you're facing in your life. Are you having issues setting boundaries with people? Are you coming up against being a perfectionist and feeling too scared to put things out there in the world? Are you hiding yourself away and feeling inauthentic and feeling like other people's opinions really matter, and you're feeling kind of crushed by that experience? Are you feeling a bit lost and hopeless and you're not sure quite what to do? Or are you exploding more than you want? Are you finding that you're self-sabotaging? I want to know what it is. Basically, I have got about, without exaggeration, probably about 125 partly written articles. And as somebody who has a lot of ideas, I'm really hoping that you might be able to help me to focus. So if you have a problem, you have a particular situation, and if you want to just say something on this and you're comfortable sharing that, but if you want to DM me and go into more detail or whatever, I'm not a therapist, but I am somebody who has had a lot of therapy, and I have thought a lot about how this all works. And so I can at least give you some strategies that might help, because what the Life Lab is rather than it being I know the answers and this is what you do, which I don't think is right. For a start, I don't have the answers and I don't know what you should do. But I do have lots of things you could try. And for me, the way that it all works is that, hope is a function of struggle, like this idea that you have hope and that things can change. You have to have hope, and to have hope, you have to have a plan. Like there's a person called Schneider who's written a lot on hope, and I love a lot of his work. I've written a lot of half articles on hope. So if you're interested in hope, let me know. Write it in the comments or send me a little DM. But the things on hope for me are to give yourself some things just to try, because you might try something and it doesn't work for you, and then another thing happens and it just clicks something into place, and it just shifts you a little bit at a time. And that's what I'm wanting to do, is to know there is always an option. There are, that idea of, I've been in states during my life where I have felt really bleak and really hopeless, and like there's nothing that has been able to help me, and nobody understands me, and I hate that feeling. Like I really hate that feeling, and I hate the idea that other people are having that feeling. So I reckon as long as you've got the willingness to try something, even if you're phoning it in, like you don't have to like I do a lot of mental health things like this, with stupid mental health. You don't have to love doing mental health things, but I don't want anyone to feel like there isn't things that they can do. And so that is what the Life Lab is all about. And if this is something that you're interested in, if you're interested in mental health and personal development, and if you're wanting to start the process of making some more changes in your life and being a bit braver, then you might want to subscribe. I've got a link, I think. I don't really know. I don't even know how I tell that. But I've got a newsletter that is called The Life-Changing Experiment. And the reason it's called The Life-Changing Experiment is A, because I did do a science degree that I never used, because I thought I was being practical doing a science degree. But when you don't use a science degree, I don't know if it was very practical. Anyway, I do love science. And one of the things with science, and I guess this is one of the reasons as well why doing that mental health course and everyone's saying, well, this is the most scientifically researched thing. You know, people, I think, outside of the world of science have a different concept of what it is. Like people can, I think sometimes people can get caught up on the idea that science is the truth and it's a definitive fact. Whereas science is always a process of, well, this is our best guess on the information that we have at hand. The whole thing is just an experiment. The whole thing is, this is a hypothesis. And it's like somebody has a theory and you're going, well, I'm going to see whether or not that theory is right. Which is why, you know, you think one thing for a long period of time and then science disproves itself. And, you know, that is what I want, is that everyone needs to become a scientist in their own life. Everyone needs to experiment and to find out what works for them. And for me, that is what it is, you know, in that course. Don't get me started on that course. I could have a 6 hour, I don't even know if this live stream's working, but I could speak for 6 hours on how annoying that lecturer was and how much I disagreed with a lot of what they were saying. But I think if you actually want to empower people, education is key, but also to empower them to know that they are going to make mistakes and it's not going to be a straightforward journey, and to normalize that idea that that is just how it works. It is anyone who tries to tell you differently or to say, I have the system, I've got the number one system that's going to work for everyone. That is bullshit. There is no number one system. There is no number one system. There is one person's idea and the thing that has worked for them. And you can share that. And if you vibe with those people, that is great. But empowerment for me is telling people it's going to be a journey, and as long as you are willing to persist and keep going, then you will find a way. If you've got a goal, and you know, the things that are getting in your way when you have a goal are often internal things, right? This is my experience anyway. The things that get in your way are often your own thoughts about yourself, or your lack of self-worth, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you know, you're being too hard on yourself when you make a mistake, or you're expecting too much of yourself. I speak very much from experience here, but you're expecting too much of yourself, and you're expecting too much of the process, and you're expecting that it's going to be easier than it actually is. And if you're somebody who actually is wanting to grow and can see that they are kind of blocked in some way, growth is challenging. It only happens outside of your comfort zone. There is no growing in your comfort zone. That is not how it works. So in my opinion, it is far better to become able to tolerate discomfort than it is to try and get things perfect and not make mistakes. And sometimes what you're hoping, which will be a shortcut or the most efficient way, is often not, and it often isn't the way you grow. So I think it's just better if we can all admit that we sometimes struggle and it's hard, but then to rally around and remind ourselves we can do hard things. We can do hard things. And that for me is where hope fits in. We can do hard things and I can keep going. And even if this didn't work out, that there's something else that I can do. That is what I want, and that is what the Life Lab is. So this has really rambled on for quite some time. I don't think anyone's out there. I don't even know if this is working really. Oh, Dana Wong just hopped on my live. This is the first ever live stream I've ever done, Dana. I have no idea if it actually works. So I'm actually very excited to see that something happened. It's very nice to have you here. I've kind of done it now. I'm kind of at the end. I'm sure that if anyone watches this and catch up, they will be really glad that I'm bringing it to hello, darling. This is funny. I've just been talking about, everyone can just go now if you're watching this on catch up, because now I'm just talking to Dana. I've just been talking about the whole bank of resources that I've been creating called the Life Lab, and the newsletter that I've been creating called the Life Changing Experiment, that's got a whole lot of, every week you get every fortnight. I changed it to every fortnight because I wasn't quite managing to get it out there every week. So it's now a fortnightly experiment. Ooh. But it's things like, how to set a boundary, or how to focus only on the things in your control. And they're really, I've designed it so that it's a really tangible and practical process where you can make really small changes that add up over time. So basically this was just me sharing with people some of the stuff I've been doing and letting them know that I have about 120 half-written blog posts. And if they've got any things that they're struggling with, it'd be really helpful for them to tell me so I know which ones to complete. And they can just, anyone out there can just DM me or whatevs. Sounds great. Oh, good. I've never done this interaction before. That is very distracting. I'm glad there's only one person here because I would just spend the entire time looking at those comments. But I'm going to go now. Sorry, it's very nice to see you, Dana. But I'm going to hop off now and maybe finish one of those articles that I've been doing. So everyone, there's a link, hopefully, maybe somewhere that you can subscribe to that newsletter. And if you have anything you want me to write related to a mental health struggle, whatever, blah, 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 just DM me or leave a message or however you feel in terms of your privacy. And I will create some resources around it. So thank you and lovely to see you, Dana. Okay, see you later. Bye.